What's up, y'all? Today is the 3rd of January, 2026. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. This is a video on our main side, okay? The main side of In The Image Clothing Company, one of our forwards, where what we do is allow the body to work. We allow the human body to work, and we do it through what's physically placed on it, clothing, okay? Designed in the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ. We're a clothing company for anything that clothes the human being. We're not just a clothing company, though. And clothing isn't just what you think of as clothing. Glasses, jewelry, anything placed onto the body, clothing the body with something is clothing the body with something. And so what we have is eating that we do, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration. We discuss all of it and doing it natural. The goal is natural on all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. But the thing with the body is it's placed on earth, okay? There's a center of gravity that always remains. There's a center line to the body, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body. These things have to stay in the center. We do the same thing on In The Image Clothing Company Poodles, another one of our fourths, as allowing the body to work. We label it letting dogs stay natural. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. Here's Dante's paws. Good boy, man. Good boy. But we give information on letting dogs stay natural that applies to not only all dogs, but a lot of animals across the earth as well. Okay? Collars, leashes, harnesses, like human being clothing, we have to keep it centered and fitting the dogs properly. With our clothing, we discuss staying centered, fitting correct, where we show clothing sits for every body who has one, or everyone who has a body, which is every human being. On this universal human design, we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth and even just apart from clothing to allow the body to work. Being made from 100% natural materials is also a focus and really a must. A lot of things are new nowadays that just didn't exist in the past, even tens of years back from today's date, like stretch in clothing. Unnatural, synthetic, artificial materials. These are in our food as well. These are synonyms with fake. Stretch in clothing goes the opposite direction of the only way the muscles of the human body work, and the animals as well, our dogs. The human body only pulls. There's a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. All muscles just pull. The end points where they're connected to bones through tendons together. We have opposing muscles. There's opposition in all things. We discuss under the gospel of Jesus Christ, discussions that we have on In The Image Clothing Company podcast, another one of our fourths. There's opposition in all things. There's only light because there's dark. There's only warmth because there's cold. And, well, you don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but the gospel of Jesus Christ is the truth of all things. We're on episode 199 as of last night of In The Image Clothing Company podcast. We just have deep insights on life. We're all human beings, the same thing, placed on the same earth. We're designed by the same God. It just is what it is. Dante sneezed. Okay. Hold on. Let's just go a tiny bit more like that, for the sake of trying to keep it pretty well level, because our bodies need to stay even on Earth's center of gravity. Okay. Oh, here comes a biker. Let me just make sure Dante is out of the way in case this biker comes up the trail that we're next to. Okay, he went a different way than this trail. So, we have clothing on our bodies, and we have the muscles only contracting. We have opposing muscles, is the point. One side, well, is the point of the opposition we were discussing that segued us into discussing In The Image Clothing Company podcast, okay? But one side of a function has the muscles doing all they do and pull to close a hinge joint, but then the opposing side of the function pulls muscles together to extend a hinge joint. The human body can't actually push. Even when our hand is going farther from us, when we extend the elbow, it's because we've pulled the triceps, the three muscles on the back of the arm, this upper arm bone here, the humerus, together to extend a hinge by pulling it open, okay? So the human body only pulls, stretching clothing goes the opposite direction. We just discussed the anatomy of the human body in depth, man. And the thing is, clothing is the only thing physically placed on us. You don't have to care about clothing at all, but it's placed on you. It's affecting you if it's affecting you. And we've just got so many things like stretch in clothing, like tags in clothing that just didn't exist decades ago. They started putting tags into clothing. A lot of reason as to why was because of the materials the clothing's made out of. And people have reactions to unnatural, synthetic, or artificial things. The goal is natural on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company, because there's only natural. There's always only what there is on the earth, and we can take what God gave us and melt it together and make something unnatural. We didn't actually make anything. We just kind of like ruined stuff that was already there. So it poisons the body. These unnatural materials placed onto the skin. The epidermis is a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company here, but it's also just the name of the skin of the body. It's actually an organ. We've got holes in our skin called pores, and we can place a cream on top of our skin. We call it a topical cream, placed on top of the skin, as our clothing is placed on top of the skin. And it soaks into the body and does things to the body from the inside out. With the topical cream, it's intending on healing the body. But unnatural, synthetic, artificial materials in our clothing and tags in our clothing and anything we place onto the body that's just not real, which is really what unnatural, artificial, or synthetic mean. It's not an opinion. There's only real things, or there's only natural things. Otherwise, it's fake, and it's poison to the body. Okay. From the inside out, really, it's placed on us, and so it goes into our body through the holes in our skin. Anyway, we allow the body to work. Clothing has to sit in the same location for every body. Catch the phrasing? It's just literal, right? The gospel of Jesus Christ. We discuss how words only mean what words mean. There's a universal human design. The skeletal system's the same for every body. Okay? You can have an amputation, deformity, major surgery, birth defect, something like this that's altered your body, sets you apart a little bit, quite a bit, makes you a little bit different than the baseline human being structure. But there's still a center to gravity. There's still a center to your body in the ways that there is, the center line to it. And we still have to breathe, you know? It takes the entire body to some degree to stabilize. In every breath we take, the jaw is huge in stabilization for the entire body. The jaw is speaking, eating, stabilizing of the entire body. It's breathing. You know, there's a lot that the jaw does, and the jaw comes down through the collar of our top, okay, with its musculature, and connects to the edge of the shoulder from the lower jawbone directly through tendons and musculature. So we need to keep our collars centered. Keeping collars centered, a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, a focus for human beings and for our dogs, right? We have dog collars, but you know, In the Image Clothing Company poodles with letting dogs stay natural. Our information applies to, well, fairly obviously once you see it, things like horses with halters, for example, you know, mules, pack mules, a lot of animals. You know, we give information that is just good, deep insights on what's really happening in this modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth to us and the animals. And, you know, dogs are domesticated. And so what we do directly affects them because they're entirely under our care. They don't have a say besides that, you know, for their food, how they eat, for what's placed onto them, or if they can take it off, you know. So anyway, we get into it in depth, in such depth. We really discuss things very, very, very deeply under In the Image Clothing Company and all four sides. So he's gonna take a little nap. There you go. Just making sure there wasn't tension on his slip lead, you know, as he laid on it, pulling on his neck. So the winds have changed, right? Blunt, bold, raw, and real. In the Image Clothing Company as we do it. Here comes the wind. Wow. It is what it is. This video's title, though, Wow. Not upset about it. It's just funny. Yeah, it just happens where it does. It's so funny. The title of this video is The Pinky Toe and the Pinky Finger. The human body has neutrals. That's how there's opposition in all things. That's how we can have a function, is because it comes from the neutral, and then there's opposing sides to the neutral. Otherwise, there'd be no function. Why you can't stretch the body? The human body is just mechanics. Your center of gravity, staying in your center line. Those are 4 videos there under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company discussing how the body truly is just mechanics. It's impossible to get the human body to do anything through any kind of training or stretching. There's just 2 sides to it. It truly is just a mechanical machine. As I say, the human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. There's only one way it could ever work. The only end is allowing the human body to work, or letting the dogs stay natural. They're God's designs. We allow God's design of the human being to work, and we let God's design of the dogs stay natural. I know people have gone to school, probably half my current age, I'm 26 years old, to learn how to train the human body, like a personal trainer, fitness coach, or physical therapist might be giving you exercises to try to get your body to do something. Chiropractors, orthopedic people, it's physically impossible. It's no new information. It's not anything I could take credit for as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong, leading this for life. I know it's just the truth. Since God designed in his image, he had to first look like us to design us in his image. In The Image Clothing Company, our 5-word company name with no spaces between the 5 words. It's no new information. I know it seems weird to a lot of people. You can't train the body, though. The body has neutrals. In everything, the body just has neutrals in all the positions that it possibly has. The body has rotations. If we have our elbows at our natural waist, where we can bend side to side at the spine, keeping elbows at the natural waist, a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here, and, well, really our elbows at our natural waist determine where our shoulders are, pivoting on the collarbone or clavicle from the edge of the shoulder into the center line of the body at the sternum, and there's just a neutral height to the shoulders, correlating with the neutral height to the elbows, at the natural waist, which is above the hip bones but below the lowest ribs. Because if our elbows aren't at our natural waist, we just can't bend side to side at our spine, which is the only place we can bend side to side in the center of our body like that. You can't bend side to side at the hips without a foot coming off the ground. And if our elbows aren't at our natural waist, where we are bending at our spine, but they're dropped too low on the low end of their neutral, the elbows will hit into the hips. We can't bend. There's just that area where they sit, the radius and ulna in the forearm coming up and meeting the humerus in the upper arm at the elbow, that sits between the bones of the hips and the lowest ribs of the natural waist. That's how we can bend side to side of the spine. Otherwise we can't. You just get physical immovable bones hitting into each other. So when we discuss where clothing sits for every body, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. Pants, as one of the things, they need to be entirely above the hips, but below the lowest ribs. That's our natural waist. That's where the spine does bend, in the center of the body, side to side. That's where elbows sit, at the natural waist. That's where gravity hangs our fingertips down that are the other end of our shoulder socket, capsule, right? The clavicle, collarbone, scapula, shoulder blade, and humerus, upper arm bone meeting at the edge of the shoulder. From the bottom of there up is our fingertips on Earth's gravity. You can't train to a neutral gravity pull, And then, we bend our elbows from there at our natural waist. So as we do this, we bend our elbows at our natural waist. Now we've got our thumbs pointing up, okay? From here, we've got neutral. In the forearms, those two bones, the radius and ulna, and we have an internal rotation that can happen with our thumbs coming in. Elbows at the natural waist, bent at the elbows, thumbs come in, internal rotation. In the forearms, there's two bones that are just pivoting over each other. Rotating over each other, okay? Back to the neutral, we have external rotation. In those two bones in the forearm, the thumbs coming out. Okay, back to neutral. If we put our arms straight, lock our arms out at the elbows, keeping our shoulders in their natural, neutral, and normal position. Okay, natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms within the human body's functioning and the functioning of the dogs as well. My beautiful little boy Dante. The Dante dog is sleeping, curled up like a little lamb in the leaves. But our shoulders at the natural height that they have, correlating with the elbows at the natural waist because they're connected between an immovable bone, that's the upper arm bone or the humerus. We lock our arms out at the elbows, thumbs pointing up still. We have internal rotation from the neutral back to the neutral, thumbs pointing up, external rotation back to the neutral. Thumbs come in, internal, neutral, pointing up with the thumbs go out, external. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's impossible to train a mechanical machine when bones are only shaped and lengthed the way that they are, and they just connect to each other through ligaments with a thin layer of cushioning called cartilage between them. And then the musculature is just connecting to those bones through tendons just to move the bones as our frame. So we place clothing on our bodies, and it has to just be on our bodies the only way the body works. With our pants at our natural waist, though, they need to be slightly higher in the front than the rear because we've got a neutral to the pelvis position. Correlating with our feet on the Earth's surface. Okay. We just don't want our pelvis falling lower in the front. The human body has bends. Okay. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward. The hips bend backward, the lower back bends forward. The mid back bends backward, and the upper back, which is the neck, bends forward. There's opposing bends back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as we travel up. There's opposition in all things, or there'd be no way to stay vertical on Earth's gravity. So yes, it is truly impossible to train posture. No new information, but you have to have equal opposing bends with each opposing bend, with Earth's gravity's centered pull down on you. But what you also have pulling down on you is the clothing that you've placed on your body, and gravity affects it the same way it affects your body. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Nothing to do with me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Everything to do with Jesus Christ, who designed our bodies in his image. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. And there's an aeroplane in the sky currently. I can hear it. I can hear it. I can hear it. I can hear the airplane in the sky. Dante, you're a good dog. An amazing dog. We hiked quite a ways, actually. Relative quite a ways, you know, but yeah, to get where we are right now. I've only had Dante for a little over 2.5 weeks. This is definitely the biggest hike that I've been on with him. So that's really what I mean by it's, you know, a relatively big hike. It's awesome, beautiful, Utah. We live up Utah, as in the Image Clothing Company. We do so much in Utah's diverse nature. Stuff with church history and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Utah, because Utah is such a prominent state for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's where the headquarters are, you know, it's where we live. Dante and I will move down to St. George, Utah from here, Utah County. We're in central northern Utah right now, give or take. That's the area of Utah that Utah County is. And we'll move down to St. George, Utah, which is the very southernmost part. We'll do a lot in nature. It's a true desert down there. Red rock, sandstone, beautiful, kind of a barren wasteland in a beautiful way, though. Some people don't think so, but I love it. And we'll do things like poodle parade events as the events we do. Some of, what we do is getting people into nature and dogs into nature through poodle parade events. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed of any size poodle. Don't come for us, in the Image Clothing Company's team. Me, Dante, any of our poodles, or any of our human being team members under In the Image Clothing Company. Come for the reason we have the events, subcategory poodle parade events like Clean the Creek or Rid the Rubbish, to actually clean up the environment of the planet. Okay? We do what we do, and that's some of what we do through In the Image Clothing Company poodles. But the body has the same thing going on in its upper body as it does in its lower body. Okay? The foot to the knee, there's two bones in there, just like there's two bones in the forearm, the radius and ulna. There's a tibia and a fibula in the lower leg. So from the foot to the knee, we've got from the pinky toe straight forward. First off, a neutral, okay? The pinky finger is neutral, straight out the outside of the forearm, like we just lay our arm down on something, okay? Okay, there's just a neutral straight out from the pinky finger. There's a neutral straight out from the pinky toe, forward, just like the pinky finger of the arm, okay? So that's this video's title. That's what we're going to be discussing in this. The pinky toe and the pinky finger. And how they do what each other do, and they both need to stay neutral for the entire body to work. The only way the entire body can work, activated as a whole. Everything's there with a role to play. It's got its own individual role, different than everything else, and so something else can't make up for its role and compensate if something's not working properly. And this is where things like prosthetics come in with amputations or with deformities. We do what we can. A lot of it's just balancing weight out on Earth's gravity, But yeah, it's all there. Everywhere your body goes at all, any of you, it all comes with, it's all connected. It's just what it is. It's a mechanical machine. You take a machine and you take part of it away and the rest of it doesn't quite work the same. So we do all we can to get as close as we can in our own individualistic situations to the universal human design for the sake of physical functioning. Okay? Which is what the body is. It's something that physically functions, or it doesn't. That's what it's for. It's to take us across the earth as our vessel that God gave us. Us just being his spirit children. Yee, what is he saying? Maybe you don't know what I'm saying. That's fine. In the Image Clothing Company podcast, as I say, if you've got a problem with us or you just don't understand us, stick around. Deeper context brings deeper understandings. And we do so much under the gift of video. And always will on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. That's a huge part of what we are as the company we are. Is video. That's why I call it the gift of video. It's permanent. It's eternal. Like this one here. And we do all we can to discuss universal, unchanging information, the truth of God that we didn't decide and we couldn't take credit for. So it applies to our grandkids as much as it applied to our great-great-grandparents, grandparents, if they were to have heard this information as well. God, the same yesterday, today, and forever. He never changes. That's what that means. Okay? Oh, shoot. The truth, right? The truth never changes. It's another name for God. The truth, okay? Jesus Christ is God. That's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But in the lower legs with these two bones, we have the pinky toe straight forward, and then we have internal rotation from the foot to the knee, back to the neutral, pinky toe straight forward, and external rotation from the knee down to the foot. And those two bones in the lower leg, like in the forearm. Locked out at the knee, like how we lock out at the elbow, from the foot to the hip, the entire leg has the neutral, pinky toe straight forward, internal rotation, back to the neutral, pinky toe straight forward, and external rotation. Okay. back to the neutral. We're always going back to the neutral. We have to be in the neutral, otherwise we're on one end of the neutral. I hear a dog barking up here farther in the mountain. Okay, we're a decent ways up here, so we actually passed somebody though. There was this man with a dog. Looks kind of like a Brittany Spaniel, but it was like not the typical red and white that I'm used to seeing. I don't know what kind of dog it was for sure, but that's what it looked like. It's a Brittany Spaniel, something like that. Anyway, more light colored though that I've seen with Brittany Spaniels. So the human body, you know, it has to be in its neutrals. That's the point. If it's not in its neutrals, it can't rest. The neutral is just vertical with Earth's gravity's pull. The neutral is the fingertips up to the shoulder, hanging straight down, relaxed. We're just slightly bent, though, always into ranges of motion. Everything has a range that it travels through with its motion in the body. If it's going to be a mechanical machine, a machine of motion. And we don't just stay locked out like this, you know, when we're standing. We're just slightly bent to keep the opposition of activation in muscles working. To stabilize. The human body works by stabilizing, right? It has two sides, and so one side pulls against the pull of the other side, and then we're somewhere in the middle of there. Well, we're right in the middle of there at the neutral, okay? Which is the pinky finger for the entire arm, and it's the pinky toe for the entire leg. And these are our extremities. Because what we have is the hand being the shoulder and the foot being the hip. As I've said, Dante. Good boy. Good boy. The foot is the hip. The hand is the shoulder. If we lock out like we showed here a few minutes ago, however long ago it was, the pinky finger does exactly what the shoulder does, locked out at the elbow. If we lock out at the knee, the pinky toe does exactly what the hip does. They're the same thing. It's like how we say the jaw is the shoulder, the ears are the jaw. You know, there's certain things in the body that are basically exactly other things, just extremely, basically as direct as you could get, altering each other. Well, not altering, but affecting each other with what one side is doing, the other side will. If we're saying one side of the elbow is the hand, and the other side is the shoulder, or one side of the knee is the foot, and the other side is the hip. Dante and I filmed a video a few days ago here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled The Natural Bend in the Knee. And then a day or two after that, we filmed a video titled The Natural Curve in the Spine. And, well, the foot is the hip, and the knee is just in between. The hand is the shoulder, and the elbow is just in between. The shoulders are the hips, and the spine's just in between. Really, the hips are the base of the skull, and the spine's just in between, you know? The point is, the human body is just all connected. You have to focus on all of it, and you can't do that with part of it doing something different than another part of it's doing, and your body's all rotated, right? In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, okay? We give a lot of free modifications in clothing and dog products in life. How you approach life, like sitting or sleeping, you know, standing, walking, eating, sleeping, hydration. I said sleeping. And sitting. Twice, as far as I'm aware. Good boy, Dante. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? So you place something on it that's got rotated seams, something that didn't exist decades ago from today's date, the way that we have them nowadays. We've got robots the stitched clothing. Clothing gets stitched in one direction. We flip the clothing around and stitch it in the same direction. So now on opposing sides of the body, we've got a rotation. We live in a right-handed world. 85%, give or take, of human beings are right-handed. And what that causes is us to get in a patterning where we're not centered. The right hand is just half of the body from the left hand. Dante and I actually filmed a video yesterday under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled Reaching Down with the Left Hand. Because we live in this right-handed world, to oppose our patterning, we need to reach with the left hand as well. You know, you can be left-handed, sure, and whatever would be a right-handed patterning in your own individual body might just be flipped, but you still live in a right-handed world. Okay? But the big point is, with rotated clothing, and with one hand doing something different than the other hand is doing, is we took a snippet, well, I did it, but Dante was with me, from the video yesterday titled Reaching Down with the Left Hand. And that part of the video, we discussed what I titled this little snippet as the left arm versus the right arm. Because we just have to stay centered, you know, on Earth's gravity, and our rotations have to be opposing. If you have external rotation on the left side, you have to have internal rotation on the right side of the center line of your body on Earth's center of gravity. And if you have external rotation on the right side, you have to have internal rotation on the left side, just to oppose the center line with opposite things, the opposition and all things, right? So we have twists, we have rotations in clothing. Rotated clothing and Earth's gravity is a video here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Even if the seams aren't rotated themselves, you know, and stitched down, rotated, just rotations in clothing with weights different left to right or whatever it is, rotating the body through our clothing. Well, Earth's gravity has a centered pole and the body has a centered line. No opinion, no belief about that. It's just immovable bones, the spine and the sternum. Immovable meaning they're not going to go anywhere else besides where they are. You know, they have motion, the spine at least, right, through all the vertebrae of it. But these things are just in the center of the body, so the musculature connects from the outside of the body into the center, like the pectorals in the front, from the outside of the shoulder to the sternum in the center, and muscles only pull in from out where they're connected, if they're connected to the inside. Muscles only pull is the point. The human body only pulls. Okay, from the outside of the body in the rear to the spine, really from the scapulas or shoulder blades into the center of the body and the spine in the rear. Muscles only pull, and so we just have to have things evenly opposing, otherwise we don't. And we're on Earth's center of gravity, and even if we weren't, you know, let's say you're in a space station, your body still has a center line where the muscles connect to, and they only pull. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. It's nothing to do with me, other than I know the truth about it to the degree that I know the truth about it, and I know what I'm talking about. So don't believe me. Don't believe Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, as I say. Don't believe In The Image Clothing Company's team, even our poodles, like Dante. They're team members under In The Image Clothing Company, as well as any human being team members that we have at any time that we do. Don't believe anything in life and see what happens, because things are still there. Truth is the point. It's something we can never decide as human beings. It's God. Since always. Okay, so the body has to reside in its neutrals. And it'll just do it. God designed the body to work, you know. I mean, you could have an individualistic body that's a little bit different or quite a bit different, but, you know, the universal human design, God designed it to just work. Like the animals, they don't train their bodies. They just work. But what happens is we place clothing on our bodies, you know. If that's kind of a theme under In The Image Clothing Company. In The Image Clothing Company. And so the point is, really, our clothing has to sit in the location it's going to just allow our bodies to stay neutral. Like the pelvis with its rotations, posterior versus anterior, on Earth's gravity's center, okay? Meshing with the bottom of our feet with zero drop, the term in shoes. The importance of zero drop shoes, a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. The surface of the earth is just horizontal, unless we're going up a hill or down a hill. Okay, meshing with a perpendicular angle from gravity's pole. Okay, this is mathematics, physics, mechanics. There's no opinion to what we do under In The Image Clothing Company. By the way, it's undisputed. It's not a new thing. Okay. So, what we have, though, with all of this stuff happening, rotations in the body, hinges and levers, and just all the operations of the body, breath, stabilization, opposition to everything that has any motion, or else it would just move once and be done. There's got to be two sides to it, or it couldn't have motion. This is physics, man. Truly. Okay. Yeah. It's truth is the point. Undisputed. Shoot. In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is the top of the feet. We focus on the soles of the feet a lot, which is the bottom of the feet. But with the feet have a neutral, the surface of the earth, or the term zero drop in shoes, meaning no heels in man-made shoe designs placed under the heels of our God-designed and made human bodies. Okay, because there's a neutral to lifting the foot, dorsiflexion, versus pointing the foot, plantar flexion, which is the surface of the earth, or zero drop, the term in shoes. Like how there's a neutral to the outside of the forearm, which is just the pinky finger. Like how there's a neutral to the outside of the lower leg, which is just the pinky toe. Straightforward. And with saying all this, what I'm really saying is, In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is the only way the top of the feet are shaped. You can focus on the bottom of the shoes all you want, but that's just half of their function from the neutral, pointing the toes or plantar flexion. From the neutral, we have to lift the toes or dorsiflex them. That's the top of the shoe, which is what the weave of the rope, which we call a shoelace, is determining, and the upper of the shoe, which that rope is weaved into. Okay. So we wouldn't be able to walk if we only focused on the bottom of the feet, because you have to lift the foot back up to set it back down, right? I mean, it's opposition. In all things, no opinion to have. And what I'm saying, though, is if we don't reside in our neutrals, then we won't. And then our bodies will be damaged. Our bodies build up chronic patterning where scar tissue builds up and bone spurs build up, especially in this right-handed world along the right side of the body. And there's just certain locations in the body where we've really got a lot going on damage-wise, okay? Oversized clothing placed onto our bodies, like an oversized top, for example. You know, oversized clothing makes life hard. As a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. Oversized tops placed onto our shoulders. Okay, well, oversized tops. And the collarbone is also a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company here. They'll pull down on our shoulders to the low end of their neutral. And there's an upper end from the neutral as well, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work, because it just has to continue to have motion, and that's only going to happen if there's a resting state between the two sides of the motion, and that's what we call a neutral. It's like a vehicle. You can drive forward from the neutral, you can come back to the neutral, and you can drive backward from the neutral and come back to the neutral. The neutral's in the center, like gravity, just hanging our arms down at our sides from our shoulders. Neutral position. Okay. So, in every aspect of the human body, there has to be a neutral if there's motion, or there's no motion. And the human body is a mechanical machine, which is a machine of motion. So, how we know where the neutral is by looking at the pinky finger and the pinky toe, or the pinky toe and the pinky finger. How do you know? There's rotations. And so where do we find the neutral? Well, like I said earlier, if our thumbs are pointing up with our elbows bent at our natural waist, that's the neutral. From internal rotation to external rotation in the forearms. So those thumbs, that's the neutral. Here. Locked out at the elbows, straight forward, from the fingertips to the shoulder. The thumbs up, that's still the neutral. From internal rotation to external rotation, now with the elbows locked out, though, from the fingertips up to the shoulder, in the entire arm. In the leg, we've got a similar thing going on. Because that pinky finger is straight out from the forearm, but the wrist just has a little bit of a different function than the ankle. The hands and the feet are just about exactly the same thing. There's only one difference in the amount of bones in each of them. 26 and 27, I'm pretty sure. And, we've got 5 fingers and 5 toes. They each, have arches in them, hand arches correlating with the arches in our feet, and our rounded hands or our open palm or our hand arches won't be there if our feet are altered by anything. Okay? Add all shoes, shoelaces, pant cuffs, shoe tongue tabs, insoles in shoes. Okay? Always stop lacing at ankle flexion. A video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. Shoot. The importance of even ankle flexion. The importance of even Achilles tendons. The importance of the proper height socks. Patterning in the feet. Always keep shoes. No. But, yeah. Keeping feet in the outside of shoes. Keeping heels on the ground. Videos under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company about the feet. I've been working, brother. I'm in this for life, okay? Which is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. One of the 199, as of today's date, the 3rd of January, 2026. What I'm saying is we just discussed things that apply to every body. Okay, and that's great. That's wonderful. I'm one of those people, personally. The feet can't be altered, okay? And the pinky toe is just straight forward. The pinky finger is straight forward. How do we know? People don't have their feet working or their legs working. We've got rotations. If you don't have your pinky toe straight forward, you've probably got your feet sticking out. Okay? That's just half of the body's rotation. That's like our hands always palm up only. Yeah, and you'd never be able to put your palms down if you couldn't rotate your arms. Hands palm up is external rotation. That's a dropped shoulder. Hands palm down, that's internal rotation. That's raising the shoulders. That's them coming up. Pivoting on the collarbone, where it connects and meets into the acromion of the shoulder blade or scapula and the top of the bone of the upper arm or the humerus. The hand is the shoulder. Okay, the foot is the hip. It's all connected, man. Bones are only shaped the way they are. You'll never get the body to do anything. It's impossible. That's why you can't stretch the body. You can, but don't. There's a neutral. Okay? There's a neutral, and no one could decide except for the designer of it, which is Jesus Christ, God himself. No opinion. Don't believe me. It's the truth. What I'm telling you, though, is the truth, man. It's just what it is. It's crazy, because having our feet pointing out, well, like having our palms up, our shoulders drop, having the feet pointing out, our hips drop. You know, our hips are already bending backward, because below them the knees bend forward, and above them the lower spine bends forward, and the body just opposes the bends as it travels up to stay vertical on Earth-centered gravity pull. Okay, as we said in this video, reiterating truth. I'm staying here, Dante, for now at least. It's okay, it's okay. I love you. A lot. The body has to be in its neutrals. So, if our feet point out, that's only part of the rotation, man. It's like having our palms always up. Okay, the thumbs are the neutral, which really that's the pinky finger straight forward as well. Okay. It is what it is. What I'm saying is, that's what it is. The pinky finger and the pinky toes, the pinky toes and the pinky finger, pinky toes and the pinky fingers, the pinky fingers and the pinky toes, and the toes and the fingers that are the smallest ones. We have different length toes, okay? That's a point that a lot of people miss. I'm kind of like waiting for the sound to not be as noisy of the airplane, jet plane, whatever it is, you know. Anyway, we've got different length toes, so we roll evenly. I'm gonna wait. I mean, it's not like they're interrupting me, but I'm just gonna wait. I hear voices. Is he crazy? Yeah, but I literally hear voices. There's people up here. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I'm in an enchanted forest, man. Who knows, right? The pinky toes, okay? We've got different length toes. So we roll evenly off the ends of our different length toes, okay? Wow, big. It's a breakthrough. It's not. It's the same. Every human's been this way always, since God, okay? And he designed the first human, Adam, breathed life into his nostrils. Read the book of Genesis, the first book in the Holy Bible, if you'd like to know the story. I didn't write it, so don't believe me. I'm just relaying truth. And I'm imperfect. But what I do know is God is perfect. And we do have different length toes. Okay, so as we roll evenly off the ends of our different length toes, the pinky toe being the shortest on the outside of the foot, it points forward. What the feet do at the base of our bodies is they oppose the center line of our bodies, and they grip arches inward to keep us vertical. The musculature opposes the center line of the body, like the pectorals or the trapezius in the rear of the body, or the front of the body up at the rib cage area, okay? And they pull inward to keep us vertical. The feet do the same thing from the base. But they're our foundation. We have to start there on Earth's gravity. That's the lowest point. And the point with the pinky toes is they have to point straight forward. Because if they don't, then we're only on one end of our neutral. You know, let's say your feet are always pointing excessively in, which that wouldn't happen. The way that our different length toes are shaped, with the big toes in the middle or the center of the body being the longest, and our pinky toes on the outside of the body being the shortest, the toes just point up and in like an arrow to the center line of the body. You're not going to roll excessively off your feet with them pointing in, right? There's not going to be an excessive inward point of the feet. That just wouldn't happen. Because in order for that to happen, the pelvis would have to be extremely posteriorly tucked underneath us. That's just not how the body works. To be able to move, it has to bend. And it bending will actually cause the feet to point out the more you bend. Just mechanically, that's how it works. Because of the musculature's activation, the length of the toes, the rotations, and where they are coming from in the body. Wow, I actually know what I'm saying. Yeah, I do. So don't believe it. Truth is truth. Let's point you to God. Okay, that's the point. Pinky toes point straight forward though, okay? And as we roll off the end of our different length toes, that's how we're neutral. Okay, then the foot can come in or the foot can go out, but only because we're residing in the neutral. And where that is, how we know where that is that pinky toe pointing the direction we're going when we're walking or standing, straight forward from our nose or the sternum. Okay, like the pinky finger, straight out from the end of the shoulder. Okay. Yeah, pinky toe straight out from the end of the hip. Locked out at the elbow or locked out at the knee. Okay, locked out at the elbow, pinky finger to shoulder, locked out at the knee, pinky toe to hip. Different length toes, even weight on the end of our different length toes. Okay, pinky toe straight forward, always. If we're neutral, then we've got rotations, okay? And then what we have from there is, yeah, putting weight on the pinky on the outside will just push everything in. Putting weight on the big toe or the thumb on the inside will just push everything out. It's just one side of the arm versus the other side of the arm, or one side of the foot versus the other side of the foot having pressure against something. It's just like, well, what's going to happen when you put pressure on one side versus the other? Well, it'll travel up the entire extremity, the arm or the leg, from the hand or the foot. So the point is, the pinky toes and the pinky fingers, we have to put so much focus on them. But that's what's so great about it, is in your life, it's like, well, how do I know how it is natural to sit, or how it is natural to walk? Or if I'm sleeping, what position should I have my body in really to sleep the best? You know, when I put clothing onto my body, well, you don't have to question how that's supposed to be for the mechanical function of your human body. If you check out what we do under In the Image Clothing Company, we discuss where clothing sits, and I'll do it in this. You know, we talked about pants. I'll talk about tops here next, but the point is, you can just focus on your body residing in its neutrals. But if you don't know where that is, my hands are pretty cold out here in Utah winter, the 3rd of December 2026. No, the 3rd of January 2026. So I can't quite close my fingers together right now. I'm still slightly within patterning as well. You know, yeah. Getting out of chronic patterning and scar tissue. That's what we really do here under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, to allow the body to work. But you look at the pinkies. That's how you know. That's how you know where you're neutral. If you're neutral at the pinky finger, you're going to be able to be neutral at the shoulder, because the hand is the shoulder. If you're neutral at the pinky toe, you're going to be neutral at the hip. You could not be, really, without compensation somewhere that wouldn't even allow it to happen, actually, you know? Not really. So that's the point. If you're neutral at the pinky finger, and you're neutral at the pinky toe, you're neutral at the pinky toe, and you're neutral at the pinky finger. You're neutral at the pinky toes, and you're neutral at the pinky fingers. Okay. Dante. Hi, bud. Then what you'll be is neutral through the entire body, because those are the extremities. The hand comes in and the foot comes in. Okay, the pinky finger comes in and the pinky toe comes in to the center of the body. So pinky toes and pinky fingers. The pinky toes and the pinky fingers. We have to just be neutral, and that's where it's going to come from, is the extremities in. because the body contracts in. And so the farthest thing out is going to affect the body more than anything else. Because the feet, for example, they grip arches inward, but they do it from the outside in. If we reach out to grab something and pull it in, we're really only going to do that from the pinky to actually pull as in as we could, if you will. Like pulling across our body, you only get so far with the index finger, right? Or the pointer finger, whatever you want to call this. Okay, the one right next to the thumb. You have to go to the pinky finger to get the full range all the way across your body from the extremity of the hand to like the other side of the body. That's just how it works. I mean, imagine like kicking something like a ball and having your legs swing across your body. You have to do it, well, like my hand just did, from the pinky. It's the farthest out, so it's the one that has to travel the farthest distance to really travel all the way across the body. It's the neutral. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work, man. And it's the same for every body. I mean, it's in the wording. That's what that means. That's why we say that. You look around at all the bodies. Every body here, you know, it's physicality. It's the human being. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. And here I am just in the woods. As are the people who come by. You know, but while I'm out here, I'm like talking to just a little technological device in a tree. Okay, currently that's what's going on. I love it. Okay, but it is funny because it's simple. It's as obvious as it is once you see it. Okay, it's as real as it gets. And this is what the gospel of Jesus Christ is, which is ironic. It's the truth of all things, no claim. It just is. It's just an explanation to life. And it works. It lines up. You don't have to believe it. Don't believe it. Find out what it is and you'll be like, oh, it's true. Yep. It is. So, anyway, in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, look that up, okay? Keeping collars centered, it's a must. And you'll never be in your neutral at your foot, which is your pinky toe. Pinky toes, if you've got two of them, you kind of need to do all you can to make it be like you have 2 feet, because they oppose the center line of the body. Even if you've got like an amputation or something, right? That's prosthetics. That's where that comes in. That's why it's important to do that. Is because of Earth's gravity, you know, if nothing else, and there's other reasons as well, mechanically in the human body. You know, just opposing the center line. And so that's what needs to happen, is we need to have our pinky toes evenly pointing forward, opposing the center line. The pinky fingers, man, evenly centered, neutral, opposing the center line. But this is the thing, you know, not just oversized clothing, like I said earlier, gets us into chronic patterning and scar tissue, but imbalances in clothing in any kind, you know, of any kind of imbalance in the clothing we wear doesn't allow us to balance so well, you know, because there's a center line. So rotated clothing, like I said, rotated seams, in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, as well as in the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. Those are just 2 of some of the many free modifications we give in clothing that you just have to do without altering your body, you know? Meaning if you're not going to alter your body in a modern man-made world that we live in 2026 currently, but going forth it's only going to get worse, you have to modify things or your body's being modified from its only workings designed by God. It's got neutrals. That's the pinky toes and the pinky fingers. So, anyway, the point is, you got to be pointing this pinky finger straight out from the outside of the forearm. You've got to be pointing your pinky toes straight out from the outside of your lower leg. There's just this natural outward curvature of the lower leg because we have different length toes. And so when we're putting even pressure on our different length toes, there's just an outward curve to the lower leg, up to the knee, so the knee can track in line. And we don't wear the knees out. You know, the two bones of the lower leg coming and meeting the one bone of the upper leg, the femur. They just have to mesh properly. They're only shaped the way they are. Then we get up to the hips, and, you know, there's rotations there. Internal and external rotation, posterior and anterior rotation. And then it travels up through the spine, to the shoulders, out to the hands, up to the jaw, stabilizing the entire body, and then really to the tip of the head as well. So the point is, I keep saying that because there's just so many points. We have so many points that we show. Not that we make, but they're just points that are there that we point you to, right? North Star is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. That's God. The thing we all point to, even if you don't believe it. North is still north to every body, because you're just a body placed onto the earth that's just placed into this space. And there's a star out there that just aligns with north in relation to where our earth is in space. There's only truth to life. The human body is just a mechanical machine. It's impossible to train it. So, you know, imbalances of clothing, imbalances in clothing. Clothing is imbalanced. It's just so bad nowadays. You know, stretching clothing. Ropes, though, introduced to the body. Shoelaces, drawstrings. Yeah, you know, how drawstrings affect body mechanics. That's we just give our secrets away under In the Image Clothing Company. The slipped lap knot. Tie the tail end toward the center. You've got a horizontal waistband, you know, around your hips. You tie one side of a rope anywhere over the, you know, on the body, or one side of anything over the other side is what I mean. Even if it's not a rope, but you put it around some part of the body, there's got to be an evenness to the body. Even if you don't believe in anything, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't believe in anything. I don't. That's the truth, because there is only truth. Okay? So, tops. They sit with our top seams evenly behind the peak of our shoulders. Our shoulders just only ever work behind our head. That's just where they connect mechanically to the base of the rear of the skull, along the spine of the neck, which is the cervical spine, and then to the top of the scapula or shoulder blade, which is the top and rear part of the shoulder. The shoulders just only ever work behind the head. They just couldn't do anything else. Muscles just connect to bones through tendons and pull the endpoints directly in line. Okay? And we're just pivoting on this collarbone, and the scapulas or shoulder blades sit behind the rib cage, which those are both just bones that won't move. They'll hit into each other. Okay, so the seams on top of our shoulders, that's where they sit, behind the shoulders, not on top of the shoulders. Kind of. But our shoulders will just follow the shoulder seams, determined by where that collarbone meeting the acromion of the scapula is. The peak of the collarbone is the peak of the shoulder. Okay, there you go. Okay. And gravity's just pulling down on our clothing. And so, there you go. Okay, there you go. Hi, Dante. He curls up so tight, letting dog stay natural. He's allowed to curl up so tight physically because of what I do for him as his owner, as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life to lead it. My name is Evan Strong. The edge seams of our tops need to be as close as we can get to the edge of our shoulders. It's a joint of body parts as well as a joint of material, or it's a seam of clothing as well as it's a seam of the shoulder. Okay, one of our two prerequisites in addition to where clothing sits under In the Image Clothing Company, which is baseline, by the way. When we talk about where clothing sits, we really get in depth with things, but that's just baseline angles for just gravity, you know? And the majority, the majority of the, man, yeah, that's the main points, because it's the hips and it's the shoulders and then that travels out to the foot and to the hands. But then we, sleeve cuff lengths, pant cuff lengths. There's a lot going into this. Wow, there's a lot going into this. Holy cow. Actually, hold on. Hold on, meaning we might not cut this as soon as I was thinking we might, because there's a lot to say here that I could, We'll see what else we say in this. I'm in this for life, but removing all tags from clothing is a second prerequisite in addition to in the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. Okay, after we just have our clothing sit on us correct, these are our two prerequisites, as we say, because tags are either causing a physical gap, changing the body's only working position when they're placed into our clothing, or really it's an and or, they just don't allow musculature to activate. And as we've discussed in here, the body can't compensate. Everything's got a role to play or it wouldn't be there. Okay? And it's individual, as we said, right? The role that everything has. So, well, let's focus on this real quick, because the thumbs, because I just talked about sleeve cuffs, keeping short sleeves short, the importance of even short sleeves, a couple videos here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, and yeah, keeping short sleeves off the forearms so that we can have rotations in our forearms by keeping short sleeves short and even left to right, so we have even left to right, right? Left. The left arm versus the right arm, the video snippet from the other video Dante and I filmed yesterday that I referenced here. There's just two sides to the body, man. Okay. So the thumbs, though, they're on the inside of the arms. And really what I mean by that in this, the reason I'm saying that in this is because the thumbs are the opposite side of the arm from its neutral finger, which is the pinky. But our thumbs stick off the arm more than the pinky finger. The pinky finger is straight out the outside of the forearm. The thumb is not straight out the outside of, well, sure. That's funny. Ah, shoot. No, oh, yeah. I thought about this last night. I was praying to God. I'm like, I know I need to make this video tomorrow now. You've told me. But I haven't really thought about this quite to this depth until last night. The thumbs aren't straight out the inside of the forearm. You come down the inside of the forearm and you hit the thumb joint where it meets into the wrist. You come down the outside of the forearm and you smoothly go off the end of the pinky finger. So if we've got sleeve cuffs that don't stop at our wrists and allow for the motion of the wrist, what they'll do is put pressure on the inside of the arm of the thumb, and now the outside of the arm, which is the neutral at the pinky finger, gets changed because the thumb's just in the way on the inside, and so our pinky finger will go out because of the thumb if the sleeve cuff comes down and hits onto the thumb. So now we're not neutral at the wrist, really at the pinky finger anymore, because of the thumb and a sleeve cuff on it. And if we're not neutral at the pinky finger, it travels up to our shoulder. If we're not neutral at the shoulder, it travels into our spine and travels down to our feet. On Earth's gravity, we start at the feet, but it also comes from the top down. Like a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company here, Dante and I filmed recently, within the past couple weeks, give or take. Internal rotation from the shoulder to the foot. It can come from the top down as well as it can come from the bottom up on Earth's gravity. The body's a kinetic chain regardless of gravity. Okay? It's amplified by gravity's pull on us, though. And the human body is just designed to be on the earth with its feet at the foundation, right? Or the lowest point of it, at least, if you don't have feet, What I'm saying is, something like sleeve cuffs, you might not think the sleeve cuff is really mattering to keep off your wrist, but it'll change your feet from your sleeve cuff. Now let's focus on the big toes. Dante and I filmed a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company here about a couple weeks ago, titled The Extensor Hallucis Longus Muscle and Shoelaces. The extensor hallucis longus muscle comes from the big toe. It comes up the foot through the ankle, and then it crosses out through the ankle to the outside of the leg, halfway up the lower leg, on the fibula, it inserts on the outside of the leg, okay? Yeah. From the inside of the foot, on the big toe, which is the biggest toe, like the thumb's the biggest finger. We can call the thumb the biggest finger. Even if it's not a finger, it's the biggest one of all the 5 digits, if you will, on the hand. Good boy, Dunt. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. There's a dog off lead, just running. I think it was a golden retriever. Anyway, the point that I was making there was the thumb's big compared to the other 4 fingers. It is the biggest. The big toe is big compared to the other 4 toes. It is the biggest. The sleeve cuffs if the sleeve cuff gets onto the hand, it'll hit the thumb and affect the pinky finger. Because the pinky finger is neutral, but the entire hand will move because of the thumb. The thumb is the biggest, and so it affects the neutral pinky finger. Okay. On the foot, the big toe is the biggest. It's on the inside, like how the thumb's the biggest on the inside. And then the pinky toe is the smallest on the outside, like how the pinky finger is the smallest on the outside. And so our sleeve cuffs affecting our thumb being the biggest affects the pinky finger being the smallest. Our pant cuffs affect the big toe being the biggest, and that'll affect the pinky finger being the smallest. Because the big toe is on the inside of the feet, and they're the tallest. The height of a gripped arch is a video here under the main site of the Image Clothing Company. The feet grip arches inward, and as they do, they rise up. My hands are pretty darn cold right now, but you can show it with the hand what the foot does, you know. And then we're neutral from that pinky toe. Once we grip an arch and the inside rises because the big toe on the inside is the biggest and the tallest. So the tallest toe, the big toe on the inside, like the biggest finger, if you will, the thumb on the inside, will get hit by the pant cuffs. If your pant cuffs are sitting on the top of your feet, what they'll hit first is the biggest toe. Or the biggest, toe. At the ankle though, right? Like how you're hitting the thumb at the wrist, you'd hit the toe at the ankle. It's the biggest one. The pant cuff will touch it first. But that's the tallest part of the arch. So the pant cuff hitting the top of the foot hits the inside of the foot at the biggest toe, which is the big toe, collapses the foot down and out. Because we have different length toes, and they grip back and in. Just because of the shape of them, the neutral is the pinky toe straight forward. Even weight gets put on each of the 5 toes, but they're just different lengths, okay? So the feet slightly roll in. Just because of the length of the toes. That's why that is, by the way. Naturally, otherwise you just are putting different pressure on each of your toes. And they're there to share the weight evenly, all 5 of them, okay? They're different lengths. Okay, 0 drop shoes. In the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. Stopping laces at ankle flexion. Tongue tabs in shoes removed. In the Image Clothing Company, we've been the same since the founding. Today's the 3rd of January, 2026. Anyway, there you go. That's what we'll say because that's what we do. I'm in this for life. Man. So is Dante. Okay. And we will move down to St. George, Utah. It'll be beautiful. It's just so much warmer than it gets here in Utah County, Utah. Stick around, okay? 1/4 of In the Image Clothing Company, In the Image Clothing Company music. And what do we do with showing sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the body? We focus on the pinky finger because it's the neutral wrist, okay? And the rounding in our hands as well with the radius that's absolutely necessary in guitar, regardless of what you think you prefer. The human hands are only round, or they're damaged, and the entire body is in a constant state of compensating for something man-made, you know. Anyway, the point with In the Image Clothing Company music is we do a lot with lyricism, rhythm and poetry, spoken word, okay? Music, singing, guitar playing, whatever we do a lot. Geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. And it gets a little bit crazy there on In the Image Clothing Company music. It's really great, though. Okay. Metronome Madness, all in TikTok Time Bomb series that we do through music. And then just music where we do as well on In the Image Clothing Company music. We discuss fingernails and toenails in daily life, in all aspects of life as a human being, no matter the day or the time. Cut relatively flat on the tips, so we stay in this neutral wrist position and the neutral gripped arch position, fully to the tips of the toes and fingers to back and support them. Otherwise, you'll never stay in a neutral toe pinky or a neutral finger pinky position. Okay. Anyway, there you go. The pinky toes and the pinky fingers. A video on the 3rd of January 2026 under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company by yours truly, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong, and my standard poodle, Dante. Okay, thank you and goodbye.